Welcome back to the channel today, guys, and I am just so excited to sit down and talk to you guys today. I have so many ideas going through my head right now. It's wild. I think I'm going to make a video pretty soon, sometime this week, explaining to you guys exactly what I want to do this year, and it's going to be a treat. It's going to be fun. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff this year. I promise that. And we're going to be doing some different stuff too that I hope you guys will really rock with when we do it. But that'll be a separate video, you know? New year for us, same old Eminence today. And you know, I love that this series carried over into the next season, because this show is just such a treat every single time I sit down and watch it. And when I first started it, you can go back to those episodes, the first two. I did not think I'd be sitting here so hyped up and happy each week to do Eminence, but I really am. And this week is no exception, because this week is the conclusion of the Sanctuary arc. And we're gonna jump right into another equally fun-sounding arc, with Orianna apparently as the center of it. So I'm hyped for that. So let's get straight into it and talk about the Eminence in Shadow, episode 14 today, because we actually do have a lot to go over. Alright, so our episode begins today with nothing less than utter savagery. As Sid gets impaled by Olivier, and we're all like, oh no, he's gonna die. What are we gonna do? But no, this man just smirks, says gotcha, breaks her arm, twists her around, and bites into her neck. Literally bites into it like she's corn on the cob, bro, and rips her artery out, killing her. And I'm sitting here like, woo, we're not even 2 minutes in, bro. What is this savagery? It's wild, as he just sits there smiling for the camera. Like, what? What a way to start. Like, we all knew he would win, but I didn't think he'd bite her freaking neck off. Like, what? I kind of love it. And as we transition afterwards, Nelson's just like, how are you still alive? She stabbed you through the heart. As Sid says, you know, as long as you protect the vitals, the human body is surprisingly sturdy. Even if you get stabbed through the gut, keep your arteries and important organs safe, and it won't kill you. It's that simple. Don't you think that's such a beautiful thing? You just protect your vitals and it saves you all the trouble of dodging your enemy's attack. Then, once you've been impaled through the belly, you can bite right into the other person's neck. As Nelson just looks at him dumbfounded like, are you okay in the head? You're actually crazy. But Sid just responds to him like, you know, your elf friend is gone. Is it safe to assume I'll be fighting you next? And it's here Nelson says, you know, alright, I admit, I was surprised to see Olivier defeated by some punk kid who can't use magic. You were probably just lucky, but nevertheless, a win is a win. Congratulations, as he starts clapping for him. As Sid just starts clapping back like, thank you for that. And Nelson gets heated by this. I love it. As he says, but all you did was beat one shoddy copy. There's so much magical energy lying dormant in the sanctuary that not even we can fathom it. As he releases a lot of the energy, and we see that he can make copies of Olivier. As we see all these copies starting to attack Sid, and he says, a resurrected superhuman army, huh? But right before they're about to attack him, Sid says, sorry, your time's up. As he opens his eye and completely destroys all of them, as we see that he has his slime back. And Nelson looks dumbfounded like, what is that? No, don't tell me that's a slime! As he asks Sid, how can you use magic here? As Sid tells him it's simple. If trying to use magic gets it absorbed, then I just have to temper the magic until it's too solid to be absorbed. Simple, right? Even Aurora, who's standing behind him, is like, that's simple, huh? What? And it's here as Nelson sicks the rest of the Oliviers on him that Sid starts getting a little more serious as he says, I guess playtime's over, huh? As he says to Aurora, so you said to draw the holy sword, cut the chains, and destroy the magical core, right? As he says, you know, it's such a pain to go through each individual step. We could just blast through them all at once. As Aurora just looks at him like, don't tell me you're about to... As Sid releases a magical blast of energy, and we see a giant crest enveloping the entire sanctuary. And even Aurora's like, how could anyone be allowed this much power? And it's here! We start hearing just the most hypest thing in this show to me nowadays. As Sid goes, I am the all range. As Olivier actually stabs him through the heart here before he can finish. But he still does and says, atomic. And blows everything away. Again, it's always hype. Everything is literally blown away. As we see on the surface, we get another giant explosion. Just like what happened at the Capitol. And we just see Alpha grinning and basking in it all. I love it. Alexia and Orianna are looking on, dumbfounded, like, holy shit, again. This is crazy. And it's here we transition to an extremely important scene. When we see Sid just in a black void, and all of a sudden, we see the hand of Diablos that the cult had chained up, and it starts reaching for him. And it's Sid's eyes, and the reflection in his eyes, we see that it's Aurora. And all I gotta say is, I knew it. I knew it. And as Sid wakes up, we see that he's actually laying on Aurora's lap as she tells him, you even survived being stabbed through the heart. As Sid tells her, oh, I used magic to pull my heart over to the side. Like, what is this guy? Is he Inosuke from Demon Slayer? You can just shift your organs aside? Okay. As Aurora tells him, you're just full of surprises, aren't you? But it's here she tries to touch him that we see that she's starting to fade away. As Sid says, you're disappearing? And she says, I suppose so. As she sits next to him and tells him, I'm the one that called you here. I'm sorry for lying to you. She tells him that's not the only thing I lied about. But Sid tells her, that's okay. And she starts telling him that for so long, all I wanted was to fade into nothing. I wanted to forget everything. But now, I've made one memory that I don't want to forget. Even if I disappear, I want to hold on to this experience and never let it go. Thank you for the precious memory. If you ever find the real me, please, as she kisses him and fades away into nothing. As Sid gets up and says, please, huh? And I don't know. I can kind of see what people were talking about. Because I had people in my comments telling me, oh, these two are the most shipped together out of every character. And I can kind of see it after this. I really can. I can definitely see it. He absolutely has a connection with Aurora. And especially with what we find out in this episode, they're 100% going to meet again. It's just a matter of what terms are they going to be on. I'd like to know that. And it's here we get to an extremely interesting scene, in my opinion, that answers a lot of questions I had. As we see Alexa, Orianna, and Beta walking through the woods after that incident, after they were let free, and Alexia just stops all of a sudden and says, doesn't it just kill you? As they look at the destroyed city and she says, we couldn't do anything. I thought I had accepted the fact that I was powerless. But there's more to it than that. Who was right and who was wrong? I couldn't even judge between good and evil. All I could do was just stand there as a helpless spectator. If things stay like this, I'll never learn anything. Then I'm gonna lose all the things I care about before I even know they're in danger. As Orianna says, you know, I've been thinking too. Ever since the Academy was attacked the other day, I felt there are massive organizations working in the shadows. True. But we don't know anything. Not about Shadow Garden or about the organization they're at war with. As Beta responds by saying, then what are you going to do about it, Princess Alexia Midgar? As Alexia responds to her and says, we're weak and ignorant, but if the three of us work together, we should be able to do something. We'll work together and we'll gather information. As Beta asks her, what are you going to do with this information? She says, I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe the three of us could join forces and fight back against what we just witnessed. As Alexia asks them, so what do you say? Are you with me or aren't you? As Orianna agrees to join her, and even Beta agrees to help as well. And it makes perfect sense once you think about it. As they join hands and Alexia says, we are now officially a team. Even if one of us is from a different kingdom and social standing, and there's absolutely no telling what's going on deep in her heart, I choose to believe we're on the same side. As Orianna says, joining forces to expose the truth of the world. It's like the start of a legend. As Beta says, we have the hero, the wise woman, and the deadweight, all present and accounted for. As Alexia says, yeah, you're the deadweight, right? As they all start their journey together. And I think this is really interesting, honestly, because I was wondering how the series was going to handle Alexia and Orianna moving forward. Because now they know. Now they know that there's a way, way bigger picture out there than what they thought was happening. And they know the actual injustices of the world. So I was wondering, how are they going to handle them? They can't just go back to normal. So them making an organization themselves, like a little club, basically, to go against this, I kind of like. And if you think about it, by Beta joining, that gets Shadow Garden closer with both kingdoms in a way. So this is actually really smart for them to do. So I'm excited to see where we go from here, because I like this concept. And it's here we transition to Alpha and Epsilon having a conversation with each other. So we get a bit of an idea of what Shadow Garden's next move is going to be. As we hear, the Sanctuary was obliterated. The Holy Sword, vaporized. Everything was vaporized with Sid's explosion. It was wild. As Alpha tells Epsilon, yeah, that's so like him to do that. As she says, the path he treads is the path we walk as well. And it's here Alpha asks, alright, so what's Beta doing right now? And Epsilon tells her, she's guiding the princesses. If she plays her cards right, she may be able to infiltrate their inner circles, which would be huge for Shadow Garden to get information. But it's here the conversation changes gears a little bit, as Epsilon says, it appears our theory was correct. It appears Aurora, the Witch of Calamity, has another name. The Demon Diablos. As Alpha thinks to herself, so that's why he was with her. As she tells Epsilon, the stage for our next performance will be the royal capital of Midgar. Make sure you're ready. And after giving her that information, they scatter. And honestly, the reveal of Aurora being Diablos, I think actually makes a lot of sense. Because throughout the whole story, we've heard about Diablos being chained up and stopped by Olivier. But then we get introduced to Aurora, who's apparently also a world-level threat that was chained up. But we haven't heard any talk about her, so it makes sense that she's actually Diablos, and Aurora is just another name for her. And it also makes it really bittersweet, because her and Sid are not going to be on the same side the next time they meet. There's no way. Shadow Garden's whole goal, at least from the Shadow's point of view, is to stop the resurrection of Diablo. So the next time they meet, they're going to be enemies. So it's pretty bittersweet. And it's here we transition to Alexia filling Iris in on exactly everything that's happened. As she says, we got no choice but to place the entire Church of the Divine Teachings under suspicion. The murdered Archbishop, the man who killed him and took his place as acting Archbishop, were all members of the cult. A facility of that size and scale couldn't possibly be kept hidden without considerable influence in the public sphere. Forget diplomacy. We need to investigate the divine teachings now. But Iris tells her no. I've suggested that already to His Majesty, but he always gives me the same answer. Don't make a move. As she explains that, considering the upcoming visit of King Orianna, ruler over one of our allied nations, he probably doesn't want to cause undue trouble, especially not against the church. If we're gonna spur him into action, we'll need to either find definitive evidence or show him that we have the power to overcome any difficulty that comes to the kingdom. As Iris says, in that sense, it's fortunate that the Bushin Festival is being held this year, as we start to get an idea of how Iris is thinking. As Iris says, the title of the repeat winner of the Bushin Festival will be the best thing to win over more backing from the Night Order, which in turn will show the king that the kingdom has the power to face whatever comes their way, as she just said. As Iris continues and says, if I bring our nation the glory of victory in an international tournament, then the people's support will be rock solid. And when that happens, then His Majesty and his entire council will be forced to hear what I have to say. As Alexia asks her, but what if Shadow Garden or the Cult of Diablo start plotting something again? As Iris tells her, you have nothing to worry about. My sword will not be defeated. But Alexia's kind of shook hearing this, like, Iris, they have more than just artifacts at their disposal, you know. They are not all talk. But Iris counters and says, you were there. Magical light engulfed the capital. No human being could produce that kind of power. The only explanation is that it was caused by an artifact housing enormous magical energy. As Alexia tries to argue with her again, but Iris is firm in what she says, as she says, I saw it. I saw them sending an artifact out of control. As Iris says, if they appear at the festival, we merely have to defeat them. The cult and Shadow Garden. I don't know about that. And it's here, as Iris is alone, actually, that we get her real thoughts on the matter, as she says, my Crimson Knights lost their strongest members so soon after they were organized, and I see no hope of rebuilding. The Night Order used to give me their support, but even they're skeptical of me now. I insisted on taking their best knights, and then just let them die. Of course they hate me. I have to win at the tournament, the Bushin Festival. I'll show them my power and cut open a path, just like before. It's my only choice. And I think Iris is here is gonna get a really rude awakening soon. I think she's got everything all out of whack right now. She's blaming herself for everything that's happening, even though I wouldn't say it's all her fault. And she thinks that the only way things are going to improve is if she wins at the Bushin Festival. But there's no way that happens. There's no way everything goes smoothly like that. And I think Iris is in for a very rude awakening soon. And we'll just see how that plays out. And it's here we transition to Orianna, who's practicing her skills right here. But she's not satisfied with it. She says, no, this isn't enough. His fencing that day, that beautiful fencing, as yet again we get another flashback scene just like before with her, as we see this one knight and this one mysterious kid, who I assume was Sid growing up, taking out everyone, who apparently helped shape how she views her fencing, which I find interesting. But as she's reminiscing about that, all of a sudden, she gets this sharp, intense pain in her chest. And upon closer inspection, it looks like Orianna is one of the possessed as well. And our episode ends with that. Now, that opens the doors to a lot of things, honestly. Because to my knowledge, wasn't Alexia one of the possessed as well? And now Orianna is seemingly becoming one also. So that opens the doors to a lot of interesting things, because as we heard, her father is visiting the kingdom soon, so I imagine our next arc is going to be focused on Orianna, which is awesome. Probably with a bit of Iris in it, too. I could see that. I could see both of them being the focal point of our next arc. Probably the last arc in this season, I would imagine. And I find that a bit interesting, actually. I want to see where we go with this. But this show just continues to just be great every week. You know, I just love it every week. Every single time, I get a little more invested in the show. And I kind of love that. So you guys let me know what you thought of this episode down below, because we're about to get into a whole nother arc, and I'm excited. So, until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces and have a blessed day. I'll see you guys.